Welcome in for another episode of the Ball Boys podcast. If you notice a little something different for the NFL season, we hopped over to StreamYard for y'all. A little cleaner look. You know, if you're not upgrading, you're staying still and you're stagnant. And that's not what we're doing over here at the Ball Boys. Got to thank you guys for the support on the recent videos on the College Kids YouTube channel, the divisional previews. They've been doing great. Green arrows galore. We are looking fire as content creators, but the NFL season's here, baby. Tonight, the NFL season is here.
It's finally here, bro. It's been like, I can't even tell you how long I've been waiting for this since the Super Bowl, bro.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
And especially us as Eagles fans. So we've been dying to get back out there. We know our quarterback has been dying to get back out there with that lock screen. But we do have a little bit of a housekeeping, a little bit of news to talk about that doesn't involve fully the NFL, but does involve my co-host Nolan. As last night, Nolan was I don't want to say randomly to me.
Trust me, it was just as random on my side too.
I got the text message about, what was it, 10:15, that Nolan was going to be a part of this fantasy league at 10:30. And you may be saying, Dylan, why are you wasting our time with this? Because Nolan is now in a fantasy football league with former Cowboys wide receiver Dez Bryant. And not just in it with Dez Bryant. The prize is $25,000. So, Nolan, I'm going to give you the floor. And why don't you walk us just through? Because I'm sure the audience is wondering, how the hell did you get in this league?
Yeah, so I mean, over the summer I saw Dez. He has a really cool product. It's called Personal Corner, is like their main company, and then it's called High Point. And with High Point, pretty much the best way to simplify it is kind of like a Madden Ultimate Team mixed in with fantasy football, and it's super sick. You guys should definitely check that out. And over the summer, every Monday night, I would pop into their Twitter space. You know, they would talk about fantasy football here and there. So I've been, making connections through that. And then I think it was Tuesday, Des sent out a tweet about joining a fantasy football league for 25K, and you had to make a fantasy league name. And I was like trying to think of everything I could, like doing everything. And I wound up, I didn't win. And, it was last night, it was probably around like 9:15. And Des hit me up, DM'd me on Twitter or X, and he was like, "Yo, what's your number?" And I was like, "I bet." So he gave me a call, and I talked to him, and we were talking about different stuff, and got in the league, bro. And I'm super tired, but super worth it. And hopefully, I get that 25K.
Yeah, hopefully you get that W. Maybe you could get us some new headsets or something. We're out here looking. We had some technical difficulties this morning. That's why Nolan's rocking the Xbox headset. I've always been rocking this one because, I could hear in it, and, I'm probably due for an upgrade, but, once Nolan wins that 25K, hopefully he'll be generous enough to send me a new headset. The team's loaded for our fantasy football players. Nolan is absolutely stacked at wide receiver. I don't know if you want to just run down the starters for them, because I'm sure now our fantasy football heads are wondering what the team looks like.
Yeah. So let me just get a picture real quick, because, it just happened last night, so I don't want to make any mistakes. So I got Justin Herbert. I think he's a solid quarterback one to have in a 14-man league. It's full PPR, so having a top 5 guy is huge.
Do you know if it's 4 or 6 points per touchdown, passing touchdown?
It's probably 4. I could check. Yeah. I think it's 4. So Herbert, my RBs are Javonte Williams and Dalvin Cook. Going into the draft, I was not super high on them, but I think they have decent value, and
sometimes you got to get shares of guys that you don't previously have.
We can make some trades.
Especially in the draft season.
Yeah, so that's that. My receivers, like Dylan mentioned, I got Tyreek Hill, the Cheetah, Chris Olave. I think he's going to have a huge year, and then Calvin Ridley. So, I mean, that trio alone.
Yeah, I think you might very well have 3 wide receiver ones on that roster.
Yeah, I got the number ones on 3 different teams, and pretty good teams too, I think, this year. So, solid. Tight end Tyler Higbee, I think he was a huge get. I got him super late in the draft, and I think for me, especially with the Cooper Kupp news, Higbee, I think he had like a 20% target share when Higbee was out or Cup was out last year. So I
Yeah,
mean, getting Higbee that late was super clutch. And bench wise, I got Roshan Johnson, Charbonnet, Mingo, Elijah Moore, and Jahan Dotson. So I got some
I
studs on the
love
bench.
I love the Dotson pick. You're repping the Penn
Oh
State
yeah,
hat today, but
Dotson's gonna
I
be
think Jahan
huge year.
Dotson. I've grabbed him everywhere I could. I think the
Hmm.
dude is just set to be the wide receiver one in Washington. I thought so even before Terry McLaurin's turf toe, but hey,
Yeah,
that was just icing on the cake here. But so big night for Nolan. Crazy 24 hours for him as he enters Des Bryant's $25,000 fantasy football league. And hey, we got NFL tonight. So it
sir.
wouldn't be NFL tonight if we didn't start with the quick question. Who is winning Super Bowl 58, Nolan? Why don't you give us your matchup and, of course, your winner?
All right. So NFC wise, you probably know who I'm taking. AFC wise, I've been going back and forth.
Oh,
There's a couple
there's no
teams.
way you can't go. There's no way.
There's a couple teams. So in my head, there's three teams: the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Jets. All right. So it's very tough for me to really pick one. Because it's hard to bet against the Chiefs, but I really think the Chiefs. There's the AFC is too stacked in my opinion that for them to repeat and just cruise all the way through there. So for me, I'm gonna roll with the Baltimore Ravens. I think I mentioned it last week with Lamar Jackson. I think he has a huge year. That offense is amazing. I know defensively they're a little shaky, especially in secondary, but I think the Eagles Ravens Super Bowl is the Bird Bowl. All right, so we're gonna get Ravens Eagles. I think Eagles win. I think that they're just too stacked. NFC is super weak. I think they get there relatively easily, and then I think just they're the Eagles, bro. Like they're just stacked on both sides of the ball. Ravens, they are good. The only
Battle of
thing
the
that,
Birds.
yeah, bro, I think it's Lamar's year. I think he's a huge year. I wouldn't be surprised if he wins MVP. But I got Eagles, Ravens.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I went back and forth a couple times on my Super Bowl, and that was one of the ones that I did have at one point. It's not the one that I landed on, but I get the thought process there. The NFC, it's obviously a lot easier because when you sit and think about it, there's really only three teams that could
Hmm.
come out of the NFC, in my opinion, that fully have enough of a roster to make a playoff run. That's Philly, that's Dallas, and that's the Niners. And it's a lot easier to pick between those three teams for me because the most important position, quarterback, only one of them has a sure thing, and that's the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts, is he going to be the MVP caliber guy he was last season? We'll see. I believe so. But even if he steps back a little bit, he's still much more of a sure thing than Brock Purdy or Dak Prescott, especially when the going gets tough, in my opinion. The Eagles have the best O-line and D-line in football per PFF. You guys have heard me hammering that. But that's because games are won and lost in the trenches. That's why I think Philly makes it back to the Super Bowl. I'm not sure if they have a 14-win season again, but I did have them having 13 wins, getting home field advantage. The NFC playoffs run through the link, and the Eagles make it to the bowl. In the AFC, I mean, you could pick one of 7 or 8 teams really to come out the AFC, and you're not wrong. That's how stacked it is, and that's why the AFC is so tough. Like you said, of course, I thought about Kansas City. I just think this is the year having a lack of weapons catches up to them in the regular season, and not having Chris Jones hurts them.
Hmm.
They could lose tonight to the Lions. And what's made Kansas City so great over the past couple of years is the AFC playoffs have continuously run through Arrowhead. I don't see that happening this year. I have the Chiefs as my 3 seed. And because of that, I didn't even have them making the AFC championship. I had my AFC championship as Bills Bengals. I know we were a little lower on the Bills a couple months ago. I don't know, man. I keep looking at the roster and the defense with Von Miller healthy, the secondary with Tre'Davious White, Poyer, Hyde. They feel like a team that can make a run. but I'm not going to take them over Joe Burrow and the Bengals. Could be the last year that Chase, Higgins, and Boyd are there. I expect the Bengals to be very much so all in on this season before Joe Burrow gets extended. Don't be shocked if this team were to trade for a superstar defensive player, disgruntled Chandler Jones, and Aaron Donald that could be on the move. Now, Aaron Donald's a little pricey, so I'm not sure if they go work that one out. A Buda Baker. This is a team that could make a move. I have them getting to the bowl, but as currently constructed, I have Philly beating them. And, you can call us homers, you can call us biased, whatever you want. Top to bottom, the Eagles have the best roster in the NFL. That's why I have them winning the Super Bowl. So we both have Birds winning it. No shock there to anybody that's been watching the
AFC North teams too.
Yeah, and when we did the preview, I believe I said it, best division in football, in my opinion.
Easy.
So we got to move forward here into the week 1 preview. We're going to do our best bets to end the show. So I do just want to quickly touch on the schedule. And, feel free to stop me if there's any matchup that you really want to talk about. Of course, I think we do got to spend a minute on opening night tonight. Lions at Chiefs. Chiefs are favored right now by 4.5. We don't know the status of Travis Kelce. If you had, put a gun to my head and told me I had to make a prediction, my guess is he plays a little bit in limited role. He'll definitely be active around the red zone, whether it's as a decoy or as a target. Your guess is as good as mine there, but I do expect to see Kelce suited up. What percentage shot do you give the Lions to win this game outright?
Yeah, I mean, so I saw this morning, I think Kelce was going to give it a go. I think he practiced, he tested it out. So I think no surprise, really. He's Travis Kelce, he's going to ball out. How limited, though, is the big question. Chris Jones not being there, I think that's a big thing that nobody really is talking. They're just like, oh, Mahomes and Kelce, like that's a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
So percentage-wise, that Lions offense is really good. I think has a lot of potential. I give them a 30% chance, I think, that they could pull off the upset opening night.
I think that running back duo of David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be a good one all season long. I know our fantasy players were, who do you take? I think you'll be happy with both. I think David Montgomery is going to get a lot of goal line work. I think
for sure. He's awesome.
He'll get some work in the 20s, but I also think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to have a reception floor that if you're in a half PPR league, the guy is going to catch 3 or 4 balls a game.
Yeah.
And he's going to contend for Offensive Rookie of the Year with Bijan simply off that. He's talking about a 1,500-yard season all-purpose. I think he could be headed towards 1,800 yards. So moving forward, Texans-Ravens. Ravens are favored by 9.5 right now. People were betting Texans. The line was 10. Something to take note of there. But ultimately, I'm sure we're both on Baltimore. Bengals at Browns. Cincinnati favored by 2.5. The Browns are 5-1 against Joe Burrow in his career. Deshaun Watson, Nick Chubb, Amari Cooper, this roster. I'm not sure if it's one of your best bets. If it is, let me know. But, okay, it's not. It's not one of mine either. So I do want to spend a moment on this game then and just kind of say which way we lean. Joe Burrow off the calf injury seems to be good to go. That Bengals offense, we know it's loaded. The defense took a step back for the O-line. The Browns, on paper, top 10 roster in the NFL. That's why our boys at the College Kids love them this year. Where do you lean this game? Does Joe Burrow, get the monkey off his back and beat the Browns, or do the Browns kind of make a statement week 1 to the AFC North and the AFC as a whole and say, hey, we're one of those contenders?
It's very tough. For me, the thing that I always look at, I know that Burrow's been there for a while. He has a lot of chemistry, but he hasn't played, all off season. You have this Browns team coming in with a lot of fire. And I think for that reason, I would probably take the Browns this week. I think they pull off the upset.
Browns straight up or a +2.5?
Straight up. I think they come in and beat the Bengals. I have the Browns coming in last place in the division, and I still think that they're going to pull off the upset here. I think just because week 1, divisional matchup, you said Burrow struggles against them. So I'm going to take the Browns and, see how they can roll after that.
Yeah, week one is always a tough one.
Yeah.
Um, you know, betting wise, I definitely would lean Browns plus 2.5. I'd love it if I could get it to 3. Everybody, 3, that big crucial number. If you had me pick straight up, I think I'd still roll with Cincinnati. I just told you they were in the Super Bowl. Be a crazy thing if I told you I didn't expect them to win week one. But betting wise, money talks, and plus 2.5 for the Browns where I lean. Buccaneers, Vikings. Vikings favored by 5.5. I don't know if you have this in your bets of the week. I doubt it. The one thing I'll say to watch for is Tampa Bay. They're a team I'm low on. They're a team a lot of people are low on. They remind me a lot of last year's Seahawks. Quarterback who's kind of been passed around, might be on a last shot deal. 2 very solid wide receivers, a young up and coming running back, and some young pieces on that defense looking to prove themselves. That's what I'll say there. Don't be shocked if Tampa Bay has a better season than you expected. Titans, Saints. Saints are favored by 3 in this game. These are 2 teams who there's some speculation on what are they. Week one, it could be a tone setter. It reminds me of last year's Titans-Giants game where there was some, what are these guys? Do you have an inclination as to which way this game goes?
Yeah, so I'm low on the Titans this year. I mentioned that before. And I'm high on the Saints. I think the Saints come into this game, and I think they stomp the Titans. I think 10+ margin is yeah. I think that's definitely a possibility. I just think they're in the dome. First game, it's gonna be loud. It's gonna be crazy.
No Alvin Kamara. Does that worry you for the dynamics of the offense now?
No, they got Jamal Williams. I think Derek Carr being there is a huge get for them. We mentioned that. And I think that, that team, they're just ready for a good year after last year. And I think that the Titans are just, I don't see them doing anything this Sunday.
Yeah, I hear you. Panthers at Falcons. Falcons favored by 3.5 currently. I saw this stat, and I was on the Panthers. It was going to be one of my bets until I saw this stat, and it would probably be one of my 5 bets that I do on my channel, but for this we're doing just 3, so I left it out. The number 1 pick the last 16 years, week 1, is 1-15 against the spread and 0-16 straight up. And I was like, ooh, there's been a lot of good number 1 picks. Trevor Lawrence, Cam Newton. Do I want to throw all the chips on Bryce Young being better than those guys? I think the Panthers are a good team. I had them in my playoffs, but maybe they figure it out later than week 1. Jaguars, Colts. Jags favored by 5. You get to see Trevor Lawrence, Calvin Ridley, Anthony Richardson. This is a game that's got fantasy players only written all over it, and that's the only people that'll be tuning in. 49ers at Steelers. San Francisco favored by 2.5. I don't know if you've noticed in media. Over the last week, the Steelers, they've become America's darling team, but now Nicky Bosa gets that contract extension. San Francisco, you don't even got to lay the full 3 points. They were just in the NFC Championship last year. Are you leaning towards them, or you got Pittsburgh pulling off the upset?
Yeah, so I think before this Bosa news, I was leaning Pittsburgh. But for me, I think just because they're at home and that I know that place is going to be rowdy. San Francisco fans are
Pittsburgh's home.
Wild.
Pittsburgh's home.
Pittsburgh's home.
Yeah. That changes things. In real time.
Right. Okay.
So I'm on Pittsburgh plus 2.5 because I think it's going to be a defensive battle. You have those 2 defenses against Brock Purdy and Kenny Pickett. I'll take the points.
Okay, so now that I know that, okay, I'm gonna take the Niners. I think they still win, but I would not bet on that game at all. I think it's very sus.
Yeah. It's not one of my picks. I'm just saying I would if I was.
I think if Bosa wasn't there, I definitely would take the Steelers, especially because they're home. But I think Niners, I think that they win, but I would not say I'm convinced in that pick.
Yeah. Cardinals, Commanders. Start all your Commanders in fantasy.
Yeah, Washington defense, bro.
Washington defense. Brian Robinson, Jahan Dotson. Throw them in the lineups. Raiders, Broncos. Broncos favored by 3.5. listen, for Denver, this is a must win. You have Sean Payton, you're at home. I'm excited to see what we got in Denver. Lack of weapons with Jerry Jeudy being out, Tim Patrick being out, but we'll see. That's you got to win those rivalry games, especially against the worst team in your division. Dolphins, Chargers favored by 3. Has absolute shootout, fireworks, all. It's just going to be everything. It's going to be a massive game there. A lot of points. Just not forget, Tua versus Justin Herbert was a real debate last year. I don't know how. I wasn't
going for the game, yeah.
I wasn't, but a lot of people. Of course, our Eagles travel to Foxborough. They're favored by 4 against the Patriots. That 4-point line, it's a scary one. Week 1, sometimes offenses are a little bad. Belichick's a good defensive coordinator. Patriots are at home. It's Tom Brady day. As much as I love our Birds, I could see it being a low-scoring game. If the Eagles can get up to 28 points, they'll easily cover the spread. That's what I'll say. If you believe the Eagles can get to 28 points, they'll cover the spread because Mac Jones is not scoring over 24 on that Birds defense. Packers at Bears. Chicago favored by 1 currently. So essentially a pick'em game. Jordan Love's debut as the starter. Justin Fields with the new look weapons. We're going to talk about this game a little bit later, so I'm going to keep it moving. Rams, Seahawks favored by 5.5. The Rams without Cooper Kupp. I don't know where the points are coming from. Your boy Higbee, I guess. I
hope so, bro.
Seattle minus 5.5 isn't a bad lay. I didn't put it in my picks, but as I'm looking at it now, I'm thinking, maybe I should have. Cowboys, Giants. We're going to talk about that in a second. And Bills, Jets. I don't have it in my picks. I don't know if you do. You do? Okay, great. So we're going to move forward here to the last segment of the show. It is me versus Nolan, head-to-head all season. We're each going to come to the table with 3 bets. Now, we didn't tell each other beforehand, so it's possible that some of our bets overlay and are the same, but we're going to see who has the best record at the end of the year, and whoever does gets the full $25,000 from Des Bryant. No, it's just bragging rights. But Nolan, I'll kick it to you. Let's hear Nolan's best bets. Your 2 that you're betting, and then, of course, close it out with your lock. We're going to each give a lock.
Okay, so for me, you kind of mentioned it, and that Seahawks 5.5, I love that line. Seahawks at home, they're tough. They're tough, bro. And you have the Rams coming in, no Cooper Kupp. You don't know who's playing receiver. They have Van Jefferson, 2-2, and who's that? The other guy, Puka something.
Yeah.
I forgot his name. But, I think this Rams team, we talked about that. I'm super low on them, and obviously with this Cup news too, it's not looking slightly better. And I think I'm really high on the Seahawks this year, and I'm really salty that I didn't pick them to win the division because they have a decent shot. I really think that they can do it. I picked the Niners, but I would not be surprised if the Seahawks won. And they're at home, bro. I think the Seahawks take care of business easily. I think 10 points.
Yeah. They're at home in Seattle. I'm jealous. It's not a part of my picks. I'm going to stick to what I picked. I'm obviously not going to change it. But, man, it's a great pick. And the one thing I want to add, Rams have the 32nd ranked secondary. The Seahawks have DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Noah Fant, and Geno Smith was top 5 last year in passing touchdowns. I don't know what his line is set at, but if you can't pick a receiver to score, maybe you want to hit Geno over. I bet it's 2.5. Maybe it's 1.5. If it's 1.5, that's an easy hammer. If it's 2.5, I'd still probably hit it.
Yeah, no, for sure, bro. And I'm a huge JSN guy this year. I think there's a lot of speculation of how good he could be, but in the offense, I think he's gonna be better than Lockett this year, fantasy wise.
Oh wow, yeah. Why don't you hit us with your next bet?
Second pick. I've been going back and forth. I think that for me, I'm gonna roll with the Chargers money line. I think
Well, they're
They just
-3. You gotta take -3 on this one.
honestly, okay, hey, fine with me.
Gotta take the
I'm
spread
cool with
on the
that.
best
Give
bets.
me, give me. All right, so Chargers -3. I think for me, they're at home. They have a huge season ahead of them. Expectations are really high. Kellen Moore is there. Um, for me, I think Herbert was my number two on getting MVP this year. I was back and forth from putting him one or two. But I think he has a huge year. They just got Quinn Johnson. Their offense is loaded. Defensively, they have some studs. And I think for me, Miami wise, they're missing Jalen Ramsey. It's going to be a huge loss come Sunday. And I think that, there's been a lot of talk about Tua coming to this season. I think he plays relatively decent this year, but in these big games, I think he's going to come up short, and I think Sunday's one of them. So I'm going to go roll with the Chargers -3.
Yeah, I mean, it could certainly happen. It was off of my board just because we saw how good the Dolphins were last year with Tua, and if they can get back to that level, it was a higher level than the Chargers are playing football last year. New OC, does it take time? There were a lot of question marks around that game for me. You very well could be right about the Chargers. It was just a stay away for me personally.
Hey, man, I get that. That Dolphins offense is no joke. I got Tyreek Hill on the team, so
Yeah.
they got heads all around, and McDaniels. I mean, you don't know what to expect. Come Sunday, so should be a good game though. I'm excited.
Yeah, you're lock of the week here.
Lock of the week.
The fans are not shocked.
All right, listen. You actually might be shocked. My lock of the week, Jets money line. I think.
Oh, you didn't even do the plus 2.5.
I did not.
You're locking in money line.
Like you said, it's best bets. So I'm rolling with the punches, bro. I think the Jets come in week 1, Monday Night Football, and take this dub against the Bills. So for me, big Jets guy this year. I've been on them for a while. And they got to come out hot, bro. If they lose this game, it's not a panic button, but it's close because you have to win this game. There's some injuries on the Bills' defensive side. And I think the Jets, they, like we mentioned, I think it was last week on the pod, that they have this chemistry going on. This whole team culture is really high on that team. And I think that it kind of goes into week 1, Monday night. The lights are shining, big game. And I think that for me, I think the Jets do it. I think it's a good bet to go for this week, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets did it convincingly.
Okay. So it's certainly my game of the week. I wouldn't be shocked if either team won. Obviously, I'm not as high on the Jets as you are. But listen, I respect sticking to your guns, sticking to your team. So Nolan's bets for this week, we have Jets money line as the lock of the week. You went Chargers -3, and oh man, I'm having a brain fart. What was the last one?
Seahawks.
Spread. Seahawks -5.5. Okay, gotcha. So those are Nolan's bets. Moving forward into mine, the first one's gross. It's gonna feel gross. Sometimes you rip off the Band-Aid, it feels gross. I'm taking Commanders -7. At home, hosting the Cardinals, a team that's clearly trying to tank. James Conner, Josh Dobbs. It's like the Steelers practice squad from 5 years ago. Hollywood Browns, they are sure. That defense isn't good. The O-line isn't good. Washington's at home. The defense for the Commanders is a good one. And it'll be the strongest it'll be all season because week 1, they're all healthy. The Commanders' defense has had trouble staying healthy, but they're all healthy to start. It's going to be the strongest they'll be at Washington. So a West Coast team traveling to the East Coast, a West Coast team that doesn't even want to be there, I'm guessing. Jonathan Gannon, a terrible head coach.
Okay, real quick. So I had this thought the other day. Do you think that the Cardinals knew that they just needed a one-and-done guy, and that's why they hired Gannon this year?
Maybe.
Because I was like, why would you hire this guy? I don't know this whole.
Do you think the plan? We're conspiracy theorists right now. You get Gannon to take all the heat of this year, boot him, And not only do you draft Caleb Williams from USC, you draft Lincoln Riley from USC and bring him with Caleb. I mean, I don't know if Lincoln wants to leave USC, but I mean, that's very deep down the rabbit hole. I also heard Jim Harbaugh leaving Michigan.
It's a possibility, bro.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about future head coaches and quarterbacks for the Cardinals. If that doesn't give you confidence in Commanders -7, the Commanders were 8-1 last year and had a lot of things go wrong. They're not a bad football team.
They're not bad
They're
at all.
a playoff caliber football team in the NFC. The Cardinals are looking for the #1 pick. I'll lay the 7. I think the defense might even score. As well, it looks like line movement. So lucky for me on my bet here. I got Packers +1.5. I'd be willing to take them outright, but it's the best bet, so I'll take the +1.5 and not lay it all on the line because the Packers aren't my team like the Jets are yours. So, but Packers +1.5. I do think that they win the game. They have the better defense. They have the better O-line. The weapons, it's a little worrisome with Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs with those hamstring injuries. But I believe in the running game of A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones, a receiving threat. I think Jordan Love has looked great this preseason. I like Luke Musgrave. I like Jaden Reed. These are weapons that, I think could be surprising, especially if their roles are bigger. Listen, I think the Packers still own the Bears. I don't think it was Rodgers. I think it was the Packers, and I think Jordan Love gets a W week 1. Packers fans rejoice. But my lock of the week, it pains me to do it, man. It pains me to do it. I'm taking Dallas Cowboys -3.5 as my lock of the week. They are like 2 or 3 levels above the New York Giants for me. I have the Cowboys as my second best team in the NFC, and I have the Giants missing the playoffs, and the Giants very well could be the 4 seed. I think last year what we saw of the Giants at 9-8 was their ceiling with Daniel Jones, and they decided to run it back. There's questions about the wide receiver. Is Darren Waller going to be good enough to be a 1? Saquon Barkley, he got the contract. He got the 1 year. But Dallas, it's just they're better in every spot. Dak's better than Jones. The receiving group is miles ahead. Obviously Tony Pollard's not better than Saquon, so maybe I was wrong about every spot. But they're close, man. That Dallas O-line's better. The D-line is one of the scariest in football. Micah Parsons wants to come for that DPOY. You have corners like Trayvon Diggs and Stephon Gilmore getting matchups of Wan'Dale Robinson and Jalen Hyatt week 1. Dallas 3.5 on the road. I'm willing to bet it up to 5.5, 6.
Ooh, okay.
I'm not 3.5 is where I'm at for the best bets show. My point is if the line moves, I'm willing to ride it out farther. Obviously, we know the 8-ball, the college kids, they got Cowboys Super Bowl futures, so they're high on them. Don't be shocked if they agree with me on these picks here, but those are my picks. Commanders -7, Packers +1.5, Cowboys -3.5, and all NFC selection for me for those best bets. When we come back next week, I'll be 3-0. No one will be 1-2. I believe in that Seahawks pick, but oh man! But it was a good show. Good show.
Yeah,
for week 1 preview. We'll be looking to come back Tuesday for y'all for the next episode of Ball Boys. We're gonna recap what we saw in football Tuesdays and Thursdays going forward. Until next time, make sure you're following the College Kids on Twitter. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss an episode. Follow us on Twitter. Both got them blue checks now.
Hell yeah.
I had to get it for the NFL season, but we'll catch you guys next time. Peace.
Deuces.